Alright, everyone, let's dive into this recent buzz about Blackpink's Rose and Bruno Mars' hit collaboration APT, or apateu, which is the abbreviation for apartment, in Korea, which has stirred some serious discussions in Malaysia. So here's the lowdown. The Malaysian Ministry of Health has expressed concerns about the song, saying that it's harmful and is used as a place of temptation that might encourage younger listeners, especially teens and kids, to see certain behaviors as normal, like the idea of heading over to someone's apartment after a night of drinking. They've raised the point that this goes against traditional Eastern cultural values, where social boundaries are more strictly maintained, especially when it comes to topics like dating, nightlife, and relationships. Before we dive in, we're thrilled to introduce Billy Profits, our new channel sharing effective ways to earn money online. Being a K-pop fan is great, but why not earn some extra income too, right? After this video, click the link in the comments to check it out and subscribe. In today's video, we're covering 5 top sites where you can sell old CDs, potentially earning $10 per CD, with unlimited earnings, and it's applicable to any country in the world. If you have 50 CDs, that's $500. Click the link in the comments to watch and start earning. Now, I want to look at this issue from both sides because I think it's crucial to see where each perspective is coming from, especially on a song that's become a global hit. First, let's look at why the Malaysian government might feel compelled to call this out. As the Ministry of Health pointed out, songs like these are catchy, they become soundtracks on social media, people dance to them, and younger kids might not fully grasp the song's context, but they'll definitely catch on to the vibe and the lyrics. And yeah, I can see how that might raise concerns about influence. In traditional Eastern values, the concepts of dating and even casual relationships are often more private or understated. So the idea that kids could pick up these more suggestive themes in a catchy tune might feel like a shift in cultural norms. But here's the other side of the story, and it's a pretty big one. When you listen to APT, it's clearly crafted as a fun, playful track. Rose and Bruno Mars are 2 artists known for their magnetic voices and their ability to create songs with infectious energy. I mean, this song hit the charts for a reason, right? Fans love it because it's just fun. And we can't overlook the fact that while music often reflects certain themes, most artists, including Rose and Bruno, aren't here to encourage specific behaviors. They're creating art that resonates with different audiences for various reasons. Sometimes the lyrics are just catchy, sometimes they're poetic, and sometimes they're playful. Think about it. APT could be interpreted as a lighthearted, fun song. It's kind of like how there are plenty of pop songs that talk about nightlife, relationships, or parties. Sure, APT has a flirty undertone, but that doesn't mean it's a step-by-step guide for young people's behavior. Most young listeners probably just enjoy the song for its catchy beat or Rose's voice, and if we're honest, music that includes these kinds of themes isn't new. We've seen it with countless songs from both Western and Eastern pop stars, which brings me to a broader point. If the issue is that a song's lyrics could influence young minds, shouldn't we be looking at the whole music industry instead of singling out APT? I totally get the government's worry that younger listeners might not fully understand the lyrics, but realistically, parents and educators already face this with so much of today's music, whether it's in K-pop, Western pop, or even TikTok trends. If the concern is around influence, a more balanced approach might involve media literacy, teaching kids to enjoy music for what it is, but to understand that lyrics and themes don't always align with real-life expectations. And speaking of themes, if we look at other songs that have even stronger double meanings or more explicit content, it's clear that APT isn't an outlier. There are songs out there with far heavier or more mature lyrics that don't seem to receive the same level of scrutiny. Artists like Rose and Bruno Mars generally make music that speaks to love, heartbreak, and excitement. They're not here to guide people's choices in life, and most people recognize that. The underlying message behind APT might seem flirty, but does that really mean it's harmful? Or is it that the catchy beat and collaboration between 2 global stars have put it under an extra strong microscope? At the end of the day, as much as we can debate the intentions behind APT, the reality is that cultural values vary greatly. What might feel like a lighthearted song in one culture could feel more provocative in another, and that's understandable. The key is finding a balance. While it's wise to be mindful of the media younger audiences consume, it's equally important to allow music to be an expression of creativity rather than a moral guide. Music evolves as cultures change, and it's possible to appreciate a song's vibe without letting it dictate real-life actions or values. Let's keep discussing this topic because it's an important conversation not only for APT, but for music in general, especially in the context of Eastern and Western cultural influences. Malaysia's reaction here raises a larger issue. In a world where cultures and media are more interconnected than ever, where do we set the boundaries for acceptable content? Eastern countries, with their own values and traditions, often feel the need to guard against Western influences they see as potentially disruptive. And that's fair to an extent. Every country wants to preserve its cultural heritage, and music, which has such a powerful impact on young people, is part of that conversation. But by targeting one song, is the government perhaps oversimplifying the conversation? Consider that Malaysia, like many countries, has a young population that's deeply plugged into global pop culture. K-pop, in particular, has been a huge force in Malaysia and the rest of Southeast Asia, crossing language barriers and creating a space for fans to connect and express themselves. For many young Malaysians, Rose isn't just a pop star, she's a symbol of modern, boundary-pushing art, and her collaboration with Bruno Mars represents a fusion of musical styles and themes that feel fresh and relevant. If we focus too much on censoring or policing music, are we potentially stifling the sense of connection and cultural exchange that so many young people cherish? Another angle to consider is that APT has resonated with millions not because it's provocative but because it's relatable. It's a song about that universal feeling of connection, a little thrill in an encounter, something people everywhere experience in different ways. By interpreting APT as only a temptation, we risk narrowing our view of what music can mean. For many fans, the song is simply fun, and let's be real. Most people don't take every lyric in a song literally. APT may mention an apartment and a drinking game, but listeners, especially those who are mature enough to understand, know that this is a piece of fiction, not an invitation to mimic those actions. If we're concerned about young listeners absorbing these themes, it's worth noting that this song isn't a one-off example. The pop industry is full of songs with suggestive themes, and a lot of that content goes without much controversy. By making APT a point of concern, it arguably sends a message that it's somehow different from these other songs, which isn't necessarily accurate. There are certainly pop songs with much stronger and more explicit content that get a pass, and it might actually make more sense to focus on building media literacy, teaching young people to critically interpret the media they consume, rather than on blanket criticisms of a specific song. This way, young fans learn to appreciate music while keeping a healthy perspective on its influence. And let's give some credit to young listeners here. Many teens and young adults are actually pretty savvy about understanding that art is not always a reflection of reality. Most people who listen to APT won't interpret it as a guide for real-life choices. They know it's a collaboration between two artists they admire, and they're able to separate fantasy from reality. Thanks for sticking with me through this topic. I'd love to hear what you all think. Is the song just good fun, or could it have a bigger impact on young listeners? Should there be more oversight on music lyrics, or is this a case of overreacting to a catchy tune? Let's keep the discussion going, and thanks for watching.